Alright, hello YouTube. I'm going to try something that I've never done before. I'm going to try my hand at some gunsmithing. I have all the tools that I believe are necessary. I've watched a video on YouTube from Apex Tactical, and I think that I can do this. What I'm going to be doing, I mentioned in my review of the M&P9, first and foremost, firearm is clear, no magazine, no ammunition present on the workbench here. I purchased a trigger kit. I said in my review of the M&P9 that the trigger was the one thing that I really wasn't happy about with this. I don't like this broken trigger design. Really haven't been a fan of it. So I said that if I had the opportunity that I would purchase a trigger. And so here it is. I bought the M&P Polymer forward set sear and trigger kit from Apex Tactical. Ran about 110 bucks. Kind of funny that $110 is this tiny little package. But in any case, having watched the videos, I feel confident enough that I can change this out myself. If I run into an issue, I will definitely take it to a shop, but I think that I can do this. So with no further ado, let's just go ahead and get started, and you guys can go along on this journey with me and learn as I learn. I'll start by saying I am no expert by any means, so let's disassemble the firearm first. Put all my parts over here on this other side. Alright, they recommend starting with the slide and starting with the striker block. Basically this part right here. If I can get a punch, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Because I'm going to be replacing many different parts inside the trigger, including the sear and all that, I need to replace the striker block. So they have a new one in this kit, which I am now going to open. They do seal it up pretty good, I'll give them that. And then a whole bunch of parts. So I have the polymer trigger itself. This has the safety right here in the middle. This is very lubed up, I must say. A lot of, looks like white lithium grease all in there. Spring kits, and that is the striker block that I'm going to be replacing. So let's replace that first. So I need to remove the rear sight. And that just slides out, and there's the striker block is underneath this side. I don't want it to come flying out at me. So I'm just going to, I'm going to use the tool that they include for this. Might as well. I apologize if the air conditioner there gets too noisy. I will close the door here. Alright, so there's the rear sight removed. I'm going to put that over here. And then, ensuring that nothing comes flying out at me, I've got what appears to be a small metal disc, a spring, and the striker block. So now that I've got that out, let's put the new ones in. This is the sear. I don't need that yet, so let's put that back in the bag. Alright, so it looks like they include a new spring, but no metal disc. So the metal disc is going to have to go back in. So this should just drop down through the top, like such. And then the small metal disc goes on top. And they recommend to slide this in from this side to hold that all in place while you reset your rear sight. Well, goodness gracious, that was simple enough. I'm just going to go ahead and center that. I actually tend to shoot a little left, so I usually end up sliding my rear sight to the right. So I'll just go ahead and tighten that down. Good to go. slide is done. See, function test. Seems to work just fine. It definitely feels lighter than the stock one, I will say that. So let's make sure function properly it goes. Striker can't go forward. Now it can. I can see the firing pin come through down here. Let's see if I can get a shot of that. So you can almost see the firing pin wanting to protrude right here, if I can hold it steady enough. You can see it wanting to come through, but as I press the striker block, it actually comes through. So in case you were wondering how a firearm operates, that's the firing pin that comes through and strikes the primer. Everything looks good. I'm going to do a quick functions test by putting everything back together and just seeing if the the trigger will actually activate with this striker block. Yeah, it will. Okay. Alright, so here's how the trigger is right now. A lot of take up because of that broken trigger. I'm engaging everything there. It breaks. Quite a bit of over travel actually. And the reset. Holy cow. Oh yeah, I suppose that would help. Is right there. Not very audible. Okay. Let's get this thing broken down again. So our work on the slide is done. I'm going to put these small pieces back in here in case I ever want to go back to the way things were. Don't know why I would, but I suppose keeping those parts wouldn't hurt. Alright, moving on to the frame. I need to remove this. I need to pop two pins. I need to pop this pin here and that pin there. Alright, so a lot of the guys who I watch do this, including the Apex Tactical Group, had a block that the frame sits in. I don't have that block, so I'm going to try to wing it here with what I've got. I'm looking to see if these pins go in a specific direction, similar to a gas block pin on an AR, and they don't appear to. And when I watched the video, one person punched him one way and another person punched him another way. So let's go ahead and just try this direction. I was trying to hammer this back pin, it wasn't moving, but as you can see here, I'm getting a little work done on this front pin here, just going from one side to the other. That right there. That should allow for all of this to come out now. There's one. Ooh, I should give that a good cleaning. And I'll show you here in a second how I'm organizing and arranging everything. And now there's that. And there's the entire trigger setup. I'm just going to set that off to the side for now. My goodness, it all needs a good cleaning. Alright, and the last thing is the Sear block. So let's get to work on that. There we go. There's that pin out. And I will definitely oil those up before I try to put those back in. Alright, so tools aside, maintain a clean workspace. Punches aside. I don't know if you can see, yeah, I bent it back. Alright, so now this Sear block should come out. And in every other video they had to pry it out. And it looks like I'm going to have to do the same thing. There it comes. Looks like it comes up and forward. There we go. That's the ejector. Put that down there. And there's the Sear block. Interesting. Alright, so to replace the Sear, believe it or not, that was the hardest part, taking everything apart. Let's put these back in, I don't need those. So to replace the Sear, here's a new one. I need to, you can see there's a hole in it. There's a corresponding pin, and I just need to push it out. And I don't believe I need to punch it, I think I just push it. I don't think it's held in there. There, yeah, I'm just pushing that out. There it goes. And lifting this up nice and easy to show what's underneath. Okay, so now, set that down so nothing spills. Here is the factory Sear, and here is the Apex Tactical Sear. To be completely honest with you, I cannot tell the difference. I guess there's a little beveling on this side versus this one. Looks a little more rounded at the top up here. But there really isn't a whole lot of difference in these. This one just looks beefier. So we'll set that aside. We have the new one here. Okay, now, in the Apex Tactical video, they showed these items coming out. I don't want to just dump it out, because I want to actually see what comes out. So I guess dumping is the only way it's going to work, though. Let's take a look. Okay, all I did was tap it and it fell right out. So that's all that's in there, a spring and what looks like a piston on the top. And in this kit, they give you a new spring, which is this one here. Interesting. So I'm going to remove that spring, put the new one on, like that, and then I'm going to drop that back down in there, hoping it fits, because in some of the models, the pre-2010 models, which I don't believe this one is, the diameter of that hole was different, but this one looks wide enough to accept the new spring, assuming I can get it all in there. There we go. Alright, so there's that. Let's get the new Sear down on that. Probably should have paid attention how the other one came out, but that's how it came out. Let's make sure the holes line up. I'm going to have to keep downward pressure on this Sear while I try to put that pin back in. So I'm going to put this through there like that, just to hold everything in place, almost as a slave pin, if you will. And I'm going to push it out with the pin that belongs in there. There we go. There's one side, there's the other side. Alright, so there's the new Sear. And now mind you, I've never done any gunsmithing before, so this is my first attempt. My purpose of making this video was to show that you don't necessarily need to be professional. All you need is a little bit of common sense and the ability to have watched a couple of YouTube videos before. So let's go ahead and put our spare parts back in this bag. So I've got the Sear replaced and I've got the striker block replaced. Alright, let's move on. put the ejector, I believe, just sits just like that, yeah. Alright, so let's just set that aside for now, and let's bring the trigger grouping over here. So they gave me a few different springs. I have that blue one there, which I'm not 100% what that goes to. Then there's a green and a silver. It appears as if this is the duty carry spring. It does feel a little stiffer. This spring here is for the ram, which I don't have installed. So I'm not going to use either of those two. And this is the competition spring, so it'll give a lighter trigger pull. This is the original spring that came with it. And you know, just feeling the two, this one actually feels a little more loose. I'm very surprised. What I might do is I might put the silver one in, and if I don't like it, I'll switch it out for the green, and then if I really don't like that, I might even put the original back in. But let's go ahead and set the frame aside. What I do need is, well, first of all, here, let me show you these side by side. So here is the original M&P trigger, and here is the Apex tactical trigger. You can see this hook here. That's what was hurting my finger when I shoot, because my fingers, when I put them together like this, they don't touch, as you can see. They curve away from each other, and they also twist a little bit. So when I go to shoot this gun, and my finger's on the trigger, it digs into where my nail goes, into the skin there, and it hurts. After about 100 rounds, you really feel it. I also don't like the broken trigger. With this here, I have the trigger safety right in the middle, so it's almost an indexing point. You're supposed to pull the center of the trigger straight to the rear. I can feel that better with this, and it doesn't dig into my finger, so I'm going to put this on. This comes with the pin for the trigger bar already pre-installed. Basically all I have to do is pop this one out, slide the trigger bar into this one, and set it. And it's not very hard to pop out, and I don't need to pop it out all the way, just enough to get this out. So you can see I left the pin partially in there. Set that aside, and I'm going to wipe this down. Alright, so just lining these up, basically I'm just going to push this pin in, and instead of using a hammer, I'm going to try to just use a pair of pliers and more press it in. You know, I'll just use these. I'm just going to try to press this into place rather than try to hold everything together and hammer it into place. That was a whole lot easier. And I didn't even mar up the trigger. Look at that. So I'll just give it one quick tap to make it flush. There we go, flush on both sides. Now I'm going to take the shiny silver spring, which I believe is the competition spring. I'm going to hook that up to here. Stock M&P trigger. No way of mistaking what's in there. Set that aside. Continue giving everything a thorough wiping down. This tiny little piece, don't lose it, because this is what holds your takedown lever in. And luckily, they've made it so that if it does come out, it's pretty straightforward on how to get back in. You just put it back in like that. Match everything up. I'm just noticing if I ever wanted to change out my magazine release, you can see how it operates. So it's just a matter of pulling this to the side and out, flipping it around and putting it back in, and then it would be set up for a lefty. Good thing I'm a righty. Alright, let's do the Sear block first. And in the video, I know he said, don't knock it all the way through in case you need to adjust something, 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 something. So, I'm not going to knock it all the way through in case I need to adjust something. All right. Moving up now to the front. How the heck did he get this in the video? That's not going anywhere. Oh, maybe something smaller. Haha! Alright, well there's the trick. Small as you can go. Holy hell, that worked. Still not engaging that though. Alright. Oh, my goodness. Oh my goodness. Alright. So hopefully I'll be able to do a side-by-side or a before and after of the shot. But before I show you this, first of all, let's take a look at how it looks versus that other trigger. Just appearances. Personally, I think it looks better. That's just me. Everybody likes something different. So I cannot believe how light that trigger is now. It's awesome. Okay. So, functions test. Doesn't pull without the center safety being engaged. That's good. So now let's go ahead and see how difficult this is. Here we go. That's your take up. That's your brake. It doesn't actually engage the over travel block that's built into the frame, that little knob back there. It actually doesn't even engage that. It's tough to show, but there is space. There is space back there. Doesn't even touch it. So now let's look at the reset. Right there. So that is total trigger travel, is from here to there. And reset is right there. And I have never had a pressure gauge, but I will tell you this. I have double single action. This is obviously a double action only striker fire pistol. It's designed with a heavier trigger so that law enforcement, etc., blah, blah, blah. The double single action trigger that I have on both my Taurus PT-111 and the Ruger P95 are very crisp, they're very smooth, and they are light, very light. I think the trigger pull on the M&P is only 4.5 pounds in single action mode and 9 pounds in double action. This is lighter than that. I know that for a fact. The Ruger was the first pistol that I ever purchased, and I can say with absolute certainty that this is lighter than that. I would even venture to say that this is either dead on at 4 pounds or maybe even slightly less than 4 pounds. Might even be a 3.5 pound. I kind of wish I had a trigger gauge now just to test it, but that's it. I'm done. I did a gunsmithing job myself with a rubber mallet, a 9-piece roll pin punch set, not the best in the world. I think it cost me all of $9. A pair of pliers, and a hammer when the rubber mallet wasn't working, and then just a shop towel to wipe everything down before I put it back together, and this little Allen wrench for the rear sight, and also to help get the trigger reset spring back into place. That's it. That was my entire gunsmithing experience summed up. I love this M&P pistol. This is my most comfortable to hold, though it's not the one that I shot most accurately with, and I believe that this is why I wasn't shooting accurately with it. Never did like this trigger, and now with the very light trigger pull that I've got, I am excited to take it to the range and test it out. So what I'll do probably is take the camera here with me to the range when I go, hopefully this weekend, and we will we'll give it a shot, literally. Thank you for sticking with me. I apologize for the length of the video and the rambling that I did, and the air conditioner when it kicked on. But I guess this goes to show that with just a little know-how, some knowledge gained via YouTube and Apex Tactical in their videos, and just some common sense, you can effectively do simple gunsmithing yourself. I wouldn't consider this, I didn't diagnose a problem and use any kind of tools to polish anything or anything like that. This was just a simple take one kit out, put another kit in. It wasn't anything too crazy, but with a little common sense, a little bit of knowledge from watching it on YouTube, you can figure it out and do it yourself. Really wasn't all that difficult. So I guess kudos to Apex Tactical for putting together a kit that is very simple to install, even for the novice like myself. Alright, well, this is me signing off. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you all again hopefully this weekend when I take this out to the range. Take care, everyone.